What is NLP and why should you learn it? My name is Gina Mollicone Long, and I'm going to take you through a brief presentation to explain to you why you should learn NLP, whether you want it for personal development or because you want to become a coach or because you want to increase your leadership capacity inside the job that you're currently doing or to become a better communicator. It's all wrapped up in what NLP is. Now, before we get going, let's do a quick definition of what NLP is and what it stands for. So NLP is an acronym for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And basically, it's the study of excellence and success and how to replicate it using the language of the mind to consistently achieve results. So that's a little definition to give you a platform on which to kind of grasp this presentation. But let's back up a bit here to the big picture. So I'm the co-founder of GreatnessU, and I create all the content here at GreatnessU. I'm the master trainer of all of the modules that we teach here. And one of the biggest, most important things about GreatnessU is that we are really dedicated to revealing the greatness that's in every person. In fact, I have this little rock here that sits right beside me on my desk every day, and it says, "Greatness lies within everyone." And what gets me out of bed in the morning is to reveal that greatness. Now, I was looking for the right word to capture what that means to people, and I came across this ancient Greek word called ACME. And ACME is a noun, and it means the highest point of achievement or the peak. So it's about peak potential, reaching that peak potential inside of you or that greatness. So ACME is this idea that you can operate at your absolute highest point. And what's interesting about ACME is once you're standing on your ACME or your highest point, if you look off in the distance, there's always another one in the distance. Now, why do people attend our NLP training courses? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you either want to do it for your own personal growth or to become a coach to help other people reach their ACME, or to strengthen that leadership capacity, the coaching and communication that goes with leadership inside the job, right? So this is the reasons why people attend our trainings and want to learn about NLP. So just take a moment and kind of categorize yourself. Which of these are you most interested in? Do you want to do it for yourself? Do you want to do it to help others, whether it's in the capacity of coaching or leadership within a company? So in the big picture, when you're increasing performance, whether it's your own or someone else's, then really what we're talking about here is change. Just that's what change is. Change is a change in the performance level or a difference. And you may not realize this, but you are actually a change agent. If you work, especially with others, but even within yourself, if you're trying to change your own performance, you're an agent of change. And specifically, if you're trying to help others achieve another ACME of performance as a coach or a leader inside an organization, you're also a change agent. But how much do you actually know about change? And specifically, how much do you know about accelerating that change so that you can get there or the client can get there faster and with less effort? So this is what we're dedicated to and what NLP is really a big part of here at GreatnessU, because where people are in their lives, that's kind of point A in this slide on the screen. And where they want to get to is that ACME of performance. And we've become experts in change at GreatnessU. And specifically, one of the things that I've dedicated my entire life to is helping people make those changes to get to that highest point faster and with less effort. And NLP is one of the mechanisms that we teach within our framework here to help you do just that. Now, an important platform to really understand is what is the most important thing in helping to get someone to that next level. And, it was Darwin who said that it's not the strongest of the species that survived or even the most intelligent. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. So this becomes very important, this idea of adaptability to change, because when you are trying to achieve a new level, you are going to be changing. And while people say they like change, people like change they expect or change that they want, but not everybody likes change. And so the ability to be resilient and to really catapult yourself into that change is a critical component to getting the results that you want. So when we're working with, increased performance, this is like a basic coaching model here, right? So you've got your current level, like you identify what your current level, where you're at. And then you have your performance level, which is like the ACME of your performance. What's the highest point? And then you use some tools to affect that change. And a lot of coaches think that this is the most important part about coaching for change. But the thing is, if it's dependent on the tools, then you're at the mercy of the tools. And instead, we take a broader picture here at GreatnessU, and we say it's not necessarily dependent on the tools. It's dependent on your understanding of how the tools work and how people work to change. That, in combination with the powerful tool like NLP, which I'm going to take you through, becomes the crux of a rapid change that is surprisingly easy to effect once you have all the conditions. So we take it a step further here at GreatnessU, and inside our ACME coaching framework, right? Because ACME is the whole pinnacle of what we do at GreatnessU, and we've turned it into an acronym for ourselves: Accelerated Change Mechanisms of Excellence. So we take that basic coaching model and we add in 2 caveats, these green triangles here on the screen. One is you have to loosen the attachment to the previous model, because the way the person already does it, the way that you already do it, is ingrained. It's a dominant program. It's a dominant habit. So we have to loosen the attachment to the way it is. And then once we do all the change tools, we have to integrate those programs so they become dominant. And this becomes absolutely critical to getting change to occur. Now, at ACME, what we use are 7 mechanisms, right? At GreatnessU, we use 7 mechanisms to make that change happen faster and with less effort. We call them the process of change, the cycle of results, the performance triad, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and the breakthrough process. And so this is a basic overview of what we do at GreatnessU and how we affect change. Now, what's really important here, and behind me, you can see this on the screen, on the chalkboard behind me. On this chalkboard behind me, you can see this A to ACME, right? So you can see the process of change right there behind me. So at GreatnessU, we use 7 mechanisms to help get to that goal faster and with less effort. And we call these the ACME 7. And they are the process of change, the cycle of results, the performance triad, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and the breakthrough process. So these 7 mechanisms are what we use to get to that change faster and with less effort. And today we're really going to dive into NLP, but let me just give you a bit of background so you can understand the context of why we chose NLP as one of our major mechanisms. So in the process of change, which is right behind me on the chalkboard, but also here on the screen, there are sort of 5 stages to change. Right? Stage A is the comfort zone. It's where you're at. It's, there's no change possible when you're in that comfort zone. Stage B is where you're really ready to change. And that's because of the desire to change. And stage C is where the new behavior is actually produced. So the steps in the behavior actually occur. See, before point C, you just have kind of wanting to change, but you don't have actual change. But what becomes very important after point C, because a lot of people think if they've done it once, they're like good to go. But actually what you have to do is you have to make that new behavior the dominant pattern or the dominant program, so that whenever you're going to do something in life, that's the program that you use. Once that's established, then you're operating at your peak. Okay. So that's the first thing we need to understand. Now, the second ACME mechanism is called the cycle of results, which basically says that your thoughts lead to feelings, your feelings lead to actions, and your actions lead to your results. So, yes, of course, actions definitely produce results, but they're not the beginning of the process or the cycle of results, right? And so another way to put this is that the state that you are in, the state that you're in, your thoughts, your feelings, and your physiology dictate your choices for behavior. And those behaviors dictate your results. So this is an important mechanism that we spend a lot of time understanding at GreatnessU, which leads to the third mechanism, which is called the performance triad. So that state, as you can see, is very important in getting results. And so there are three components of your state that become very important in terms of getting your results or dictating your choices for behavior. One, you've got to focus on what you want. Two, you've got to choose positive emotions. And three, that's got to be wrapped up in a physiology of power. Now, once you've optimized the performance triad, that will dictate your choices for behavior. But if you've optimized it, then the choices that you'll have for behavior will be the most profound, highest performing choices that will then lead to the action you're going to take. And this will impact the results that you get. So let's talk a little bit about this next mechanism, which is NLP, right? So, the process of change, the cycle of results, and the performance triad give us a platform or a context in which to understand how does NLP fit into this and what is it? Well, by formal definition, NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So your nervous system, is how you process your experience via your five senses, right? Those five senses are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Now, neurology, nervous system, people throw this word around a lot, but basically, and this is obviously a very oversimplification of an extremely complex system, but just to give you an idea, your brain sends electrical signals through the body via your nervous system, which is, basically brain, body, nervous system. And so the brain sends those signals through the nervous system so that you can move your body around and take action. So your nervous system is how you process all the information that's available out here internally, right? So it comes internally through your five senses, and then it's processed through the nervous system. Okay. Linguistic is language and other nonverbal communication systems through which those neural representations, so they come in through the nervous system, are coded, ordered, and given meaning. And so this is how we sort of sort through all the information. So what happens is out here is, millions, possibly billions or trillions of bits of information comes in through the five senses, and it's coded, ordered, and given meaning through our language, which would include pictures, sounds, feelings, taste, smells, and that self-talk or that description, which interestingly enough does not exist out here. And then finally, programming, so NLP by formal definition, is the ability to discover and utilize the programs that we run, the communication that we have to ourselves and others, in our neurological systems to achieve our specific and desired outcomes. So those programs, if you'll recall, the programs here, the dominant habits at point D, that's how we do things automatically. And NLP is the relationship between the nervous system, our language, and those programs. Basically, it's the study of success and how to replicate it using the language of the mind. Okay. Now, if we dive into a little bit more of the explanation of NLP, I want to show you that performance triad, focus, emotions, and physiologies, but in a more traditional NLP term, so that you can see the sort of leap that we make here at GreatnessU into using NLP as one of our main mechanisms, one of our 7 mechanisms, right? So in NLP terms, we have internal processes, internal states, and physical processes. And to kind of link that up with our performance triad, the focus or the mental component of the performance triad becomes this idea of the internal process in an NLP model. And obviously the emotional component is that internal state, that internal feeling. And then the physiology is a physical process. That's a physiological component within your model of the world. And your model of the world is really a terminology that we use in NLP to describe how you go from filtering the almost infinite number of possible combinations of informations out here, right? Millions, billions, trillions of bits of information gets brought into the nervous system, into your own system. And then you make an internal representation of that. And that internal representation is an internal process, an internal state, and a physiological process. And then that dictates your choices for behavior. So a big component of NLP as a mechanism is this idea of the NLP model of communication. So the NLP model of communication is like the basic paradigm for NLP. And basically what it says is, outside of you are all these events happening, like winning the lottery or your first kiss or some sort of global crisis. That all happens outside of you. Now, in 1954, the computer scientists of the time calibrated and demonstrated empirically the exact process I'm talking about here, where they measured that outside of the human body, there were about 2 million bits of information, 2 million bits per second available for processing by a human being. Now, remember, they were trying to model a human being to make a computer. So they measured, how much information is available. But then how does the brain actually process all of this information? And what they discovered is the brain can't even remotely process all the information. So the information's coming in through the 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. However, the brain can't process millions of bits of information. In fact, the brain is quite constrained to 126 bits per second. So all of this information is coming at us, and then we filter to 126 bits per second of the available 2 million. And it's done through 3 different processes: deletions, distortions, and generalizations. And so this information's coming at us, and the brain's deleting, distorting, and generalizing, in microseconds as the information comes in. Once the information comes in, it becomes reality. It becomes the internal representation of reality. And that gets coupled with an emotional state and a physiological, construct. And that 100% dictates the choices you have for behavior. So investing money, how you're going to do it, jumping for joy, helping others, that is all dictated by this internal representation. Now, this is really important. And this is the number one reason why NLP is a very powerful mechanism for change. Because in 1954, there were 2 million bits of information. I'm going to argue that today, that's possibly billions or trillions, because the amount of information in our environment has gone up. But we can only still process 126 bits a second. And some people have argued with me over the years that perhaps it's 800 bits per second. But the important thing here is that the scale is millions, billions, and trillions. Excuse me. The scale is millions, billions, and trillions to hundreds. So there's a massive data loss when you go from millions, billions, trillions to hundreds. But once you decide what those hundreds of bits of information will be, it's locked in as reality. And that 100% dictates your choices for behavior. And then that dictates your results. So you can see that if you can get control or an understanding of the filtering processes, deletions, distortions, and generalizations, then you can actually shortcut your results so that you can get them faster and with less effort. And that is basically the whole foundation of what NLP is built upon. This idea of the model of communication, making it your choice, really, your ability to choose what you are going to filter and what you are not going to filter. And then recognize that once that information comes in, your brain creates all sorts of programs, steps by steps by steps for you to achieve your results. But it can only create those programs from the information that it's filtered. Okay? So it can only work with what gets filtered into your model of reality. Just take a pause here because this is absolutely critical. Now, Viktor Frankl wrote a very powerful book called A Man's Search for Meaning. And I want to share this quote. I want to kind of use this quote as a turning point, because if you really got what I said in the last segment, and you get that we choose between millions, billions, and trillions of bits of information. We choose the hundreds that make up our internal representation. This is our choice. Frankl said, between what's happening and our response to what's happening, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. Now, the power to choose actually comes from what we filter. And in our response lies our growth, our freedom, and I'm going to add on our goals and the achievement of those goals faster and with less effort. So I'm going to share now a powerful NLP insight. Again, one of the foundational platforms that NLP is built upon that made probably one of the biggest differences in my career. Now, before I share this insight, would you please, at this exact point right now, like this video, hit the subscribe button. What happens if you do that is it'll ensure that you'll get notified of future videos like this one, and it helps get my content out to more people who need it so that it can make a difference in the world. So like the video, hit the subscribe button so that we can make a bigger reach and get this information out to more people. Thank you very much. So here's the slide that is what NLP is kind of based upon, is this idea of empowerment or keeping your power or maintaining your power to choose. So cause and effect, right? Everybody's heard of cause and effect. So if you're at the effect of some other circumstance or person, you have a bunch of reasons why not. And if you're at cause, you have results. Now just ask yourself, what would you rather have in life? Would you rather have a pile of reasons why you didn't get what you wanted? Or would you rather have results? And I think if you're watching this video, you would probably rather have results. In order to be in control of your results, and sometimes that means not getting results, i.e. Trying for it and failing, then you got to move to the cause side of the equation. And if you're on the cause side of the equation, you keep your power. That's where your power is, okay? And if you're at the effect side of the equation, your power is somewhere else. Now, no one can really take your power. That's been shown time and time again, right? All of our ancient masters and our ancient teachers showed us that no one can really take your power. However, if you kind of put yourself at the effect of something outside of you, then you give your power away. So whenever you're struggling to get results or feel empowered, you've got to ask yourself, which side of the equation are you on? Now, let me give you a little story about cause and effect to kind of better illustrate this point and how profound it is. And so we're clear, moving to the cause side of the equation doesn't mean blame. It doesn't mean that you are to blame. This isn't about blame. This is about accepting responsibility. And hidden inside that word is a really profound concept, which is the ability to respond. So when you're at the effect, let's use little Johnny. Johnny, did you get your homework done? No, the dog ate it. It's not my fault. The dog ate it. I'm at the effect of the dog. Well, that might get Johnny off the hook for maybe getting punished for not having his homework done. He has zero power to get his homework out of the dog. The dog's got the homework in his stomach. Now, if Johnny moves to the cause side of the equation, there are there's probably infinite possibilities, but I'll just highlight three. Johnny, did you get your homework done? No, and I'm not doing it. So Johnny refuses, but that's a cause. That's a causal choice. The choice to not do it is a choice. You have to deal with the consequences of that choice. And maybe that's not the best choice for the highest performance, but it is a choice and it does retain your power. It's a choice. Johnny, did you get your homework done? No. Insert reason here because life happens. So things happen. So Johnny says, no, I didn't get it done because of XYZ, but I will do it for Monday. That's called remaking the agreement. Also a very powerful choice. Just own it, remake it, get on with it. The third one, though, is extremely powerful and often not used. I don't know why. Johnny, did you get your homework done? No, I don't know how to do it. Can you show me? What that's called is asking for help from someone who's already succeeded in getting the result that you want. That's an extremely causal choice, and very few people do it. Just as a side note, if anybody's ever achieved the result you're trying to get, just ask them how to do it or copy them or model them, because the model or the program already exists. So getting to cause is absolutely critical in succeeding, and NLP allows us to effect change when we're at cause, right? Because the bottom line is this: if someone doesn't want to change, there's literally nothing you can do to change them. Okay. So NLP is not some magic wand that you do against someone's will. No, it absolutely requires desire and willingness. Okay. Which is essential, to change anything. But on the flip side of that is this X factor of the human being, which is if someone wants to change, there's literally nothing you can do to stop them. If they are determined and they have a burning desire and a willingness to give it what it takes, literally anything can be changed. And NLP helps us get there faster and with less effort. So it's not something you do to people, okay? It's a do with process. It requires desire and willingness, right? You've got to have a burning desire to launch into the process of change. And you've got to have a willingness to keep going until you find the successful program that produces the results. So really, it's an attitude and a methodology that leaves behind a trail of techniques. I mean, really, if we're getting down into the nitty gritty, NLP is just a pile of techniques. You're not going to use them all the time, but you're going to select the ones that you need for whatever the outcome is that you're trying to get. So people get really confused with NLP because they think it's the techniques. They think it's the anchoring or whatever. It's not. That's part of NLP, but NLP is really an attitude called be at cause and filter your reality so that it serves the outcome that you're trying to get. Right? It's the study of subjective behavior, the behavior where we make things up in our head that don't actually exist. And there's nothing wrong with that unless it's not working, right? How does that affect your behavior when you constantly tell yourself you can't do it or you're not good enough? Do you think that's going to be a performance triad mindset of success or championship? Probably not. So it's the realization that the words do not actually describe the world we live in, but the words we use and the communication that we use inside our head and to others actually defines the world that we live in, because it determines what we delete, distort, and generalize. So I need you to let that sink in for a minute. Words are probably some of the most powerful representational models that we have because they determine meaning. Right? Good, bad, right, wrong. These things all have implications with respect to meaning. And once that's part of your internal representation, then that is your reality. And you're kind of powerless to change it unless you go back to that point where you filter the information. So in its biggest picture, NLP is a model of communication. It's really a way to change how we filter infinite reality and bring it inside our mind and communicate that into an internal representation. And the single biggest mistake people make is the illusion that it's actually the same, that it's taken place. Okay. Please get this. If there are millions and billions and trillions of bits of information available for you to filter, and your brain is constrained to hundreds, there's a very, very slim chance that anybody on the planet has the same model of reality. And this should be a huge light bulb moment here. I ran the permutations and combinations once, and my calculator couldn't do it because there's an infinite number of models of reality. Sure, you might have a similar internal representation of reality as the person that you get along with, and that's why you get along. And the people you don't get along with, you have a very different internal representation of reality. But the bottom line is that it's just a representation of reality. It's not reality itself. Okay. And this understanding is the basis upon which all of the NLP techniques, are made to work to effect. Right. So there are many ways to chop this up. I've chosen 6 just because it's handy for the screen. There are sort of 6 components of techniques in NLP that cover this model of communication, right? First of all, there's just outcomes, like knowing what you want, knowing how to define what you want, knowing which language to use. All of that is part of NLP. How do you set goals and how do you use words to describe goals in the most appropriate way to ensure that you get them? And then directly opposite of that is something called sensory acuity, which is really, how do you know if you know what you're getting, what you want? Like, how do you know? Like, there's a process for that. And you need to know what that process is so that you can make changes on the fly, which brings us to rapport, right? Which is this flexibility of behavior. Rapport is the ability to adapt to the other model of reality so that you can get the information that you need to get what you want. Of course, there are tons of language techniques in NLP so that you can communicate effectively, both inside your own mind, but one-to-one, one-to-many. This is all part of NLP. Then there are more specific techniques, things designed to directly work on those components in the performance triad. So strategies are NLP techniques that we use to change the internal process in your mind. Or submodalities and anchoring are techniques that we use to change that internal state, especially if it's not working. So these are sort of 6 big buckets of the techniques of NLP that all fall under this idea that what we're trying to do is get the internal representation of reality to match our outcome, our desired outcome. Now, there are presuppositions that are useful assumptions that if you adopt them, it makes it easy to practice NLP and to learn the techniques. Let me just walk you through them quickly so that you can understand the profound foundation that this mechanism is built upon, right? NLP is built upon this foundation, and these assumptions sit at the foundation. If you can accept these presuppositions, then NLP is one of the most powerful mechanisms. In fact, one of the most powerful mechanisms we teach here at GreatnessU. So number 1, respect the other person's model of the world. I mean, that's a given. There's millions, billions, trillions, bits of information. Hundreds are what you get. So just respect the fact that you and the person beside you, you and the person that you're dealing with, likely don't have the same model of reality. You don't have to accept their model of reality. You just have to respect that they have their own. The meaning of the communication that you use is in the response that you get. It doesn't matter what you intended. It matters how it got received. And this is a very critical component of NLP because people think it's what I intended, but your intention comes from your model of the world. And the response that you get indicates what the other person's model of the world was. And you need to know that the response means something is either missing or needed in your own mechanisms for communication. The mind and the body affect each other. The mind-body connection is a big presupposition of NLP. The words that we use in our own internal representation to describe reality are not reality themselves. They're a map. It's a map. It's not reality. The most important thing about a person isn't what they say. It's their behavior. It's what they do. Right? Actions speak louder than words. All behavior, all human behavior is geared for adaptation. And the present behavior of you or the person you're working with is the best possible choice. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. Now, a person's behavior is not who they are. It's not who they are as a capital P person. It's just their behavior. Accept the person, change the behavior. There are no unresourceful people. Everyone has resources, but based on the states that they're in, there are very unresourceful states. And when you're in an unresourceful state, you cannot get access to your resources. That's a fancy way of saying when you're in an unresourceful state, you can't get access to different choices. I am in charge of my mind, therefore I am in charge of my results. This is the ultimate being at cause statement. You are in charge of your mind, therefore you're in charge of your results. You have to get there for NLP to be a successful mechanism. One of my favorite presuppositions of NLP is called the law of requisite variety. And it states the person or system with the most flexibility of behavior will control the outcome of the system. What that means is the more flexible you are, the more choices you have in your toolbox for the circumstances presented to you, means you'll always be able to find a solution. So you want to make flexibility of behavior, i.e. the acquisition of more and more and more choices, more training, more skills, more development. Always be learning, always be putting tools in your toolbox, which will allow you to have choices when the information's coming at you in a different way. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback, right? You either get it or you didn't. Failure is not an F word. It just means you didn't get what you wanted your way, but you did get feedback. And my first book that I wrote, called The Secret of Successful Failing, was all about this presupposition. There is no failure, only feedback. Get to the measurement point as fast as you can, take the feedback, put it back into the system, and do it again. There are no resistant clients, only inflexible communicators, which means they don't have any other choice for behavior. They've never been shown a possible other way of interpreting this set of this information that they're bringing in. All behavior and change are to be evaluated in terms of context and ecology, which means we want to make sure the changes that we're making are good for, the microcosm and the macrocosm. And then, of course, in our school of NLP, we try to increase wholeness. Wholeness is the name of the game because we believe that individuals work best as whole integrated units. So this is kind of a nutshell of what NLP is at a 20,000 foot level. We're not going to get into any of the techniques because the techniques themselves are quite specific, but they all kind of circle back to this NLP model of communication. They all circle back to the choices that you have in deleting, distorting, and generalizing this information so that the choices for behavior that you have are the best possible choices for the outcome that you want. Okay. It is a very powerful mechanism. And hopefully in this little mini master class on NLP, I've shown you, what's really available here is to really get in charge of your choices for filtering reality so that the choices for behavior will lead to your results faster and with less effort. But let's repeat this important idiom of NLP, which is words do not describe reality. They define it. The words you use, both out of your mouth and in your head, don't describe capital R reality. They define what you will filter, and therefore they define your internal reality. And that internal reality 100% dictates your results. So learn how to get to the cause side of the equation in filtering this information. Learn how to get to the very beginning of the cycle of results, which really begins with, the information that you filter from capital R reality. Learn how to do that. Learn how to master these processes within yourself so that you can reach your goals faster and with less effort. Remember, greatness is within you. It's within everyone. NLP is a great way to help you reveal it to the world. GreatnessU, the school that we teach, is the only training school in the world offering 6-in-1 NLP certification courses. That means we teach 6 modalities, 6 different ways to come at that causal choice to filter reality. NLP is one of them, but we teach 6-in-1 at every NLP certification course. So click the link in the description below this video to learn more. Share it, like it, share this with others who might benefit from being able to really get to cause, for being able to impact your results faster and with less effort. I look forward to seeing you in the training room.